did take a shower.
You were up for 10.
Did you lose power today?
Good hanger right
Just
out
flipped
for
it a couple
10.
times.
Yeah, ours was off for like an
Probably a lot
hour.
of,
Huh?
probably a lot of mine, I didn't.
Yeah, but this one's on the wires. You see that one?
I did, that's pretty nice.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, is somebody gonna take care of that? I guess I saw Eversource was sitting by the pond, so
Yeah.
hopefully they're.
Where is this?
Right
This
on
is,
Route 10.
It's
between the
right,
lodge
right-
and here.
Right, yeah, right by the East Thetford Bridge, there's wires down.
Another one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if there's wires down, they're gonna do that first, because there's power up.
Yeah, they
Past
weren't,
it, they
they
just
weren't
have this big
worried about
tree
the
leaning
trees
high.
on the wires,
Right,
there
the
were
trees
trees on the
just
wires
sitting
all
on
over the place.
Right,
They weren't doing anything with them.
yep,
Let's call this to order,
let's do it.
All right,
okay?
Mm-hmm.
At 4:03. Rich, you sent out 3 different
I did.
meeting minutes.
Mhm.
Has everybody received those?
Mhm.
I think the first is October 31st,
That's right.
which is a joint meeting.
Yep.
Has everyone had a chance to read those?
I read them quickly.
Any objections, any edits? Good.
I move the minutes?
A second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the next one is November 28th. And
I move the minutes?
that is LCDC only, I believe.
Right.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. The last meeting is December 12th, which is combined again. Any edits? I just would make a comment, thank you for all that work.
Yeah.
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
It's,
That's
Good.
not,
It
not
was very
fun.
nice to have the tape, because I couldn't make that last meeting, and so.
okay. So we've approved the 3 minutes. I'd like to suggest the other agenda items would be discussion of the flyer,
Mhm.
discussion of the questionnaire, and discussion of Survey Monkey. Prior to that, I think since we last met, Sue has arranged for the 24th at the school gym from 7 to 9. I know there are conflicts, but that's when the consultants are available.
Well, we already, you mean with the planning board?
Yeah.
We already made the arrangements.
Okay. So
Thank you.
I just didn't want to assume, but I think that's our only option at this point.
Yeah, understood.
Everybody,
I agree.
okay, so we're moving forward, we got 15 days.
Yeah, 'cause we
I'd like to
changed our
put,
meeting.
Yeah.
I'd like to put another item on the agenda. I think it'd be good to have to agree on a cover letter. That's both the announcement of the meeting, as well as talking about what it is we've got. I think if we are gonna send out the consultant's report, we wanna give it a little bit of context and say what's there. So I think we should talk about what it is we say to the town.
I would propose, because we have less than 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
so to get a letter drafted and approved and out, we'll be handing it out at the meeting. I would put something on the listserv immediately, saying, save the date, this is coming, and ask for some sort of a description of what one is going to be.
Okay. So when it's time to talk about that, I actually took the liberty of writing out a proposed note to announce it and talk about it, so.
Oh, great.
Talk about that.
So Rich, were you thinking of sending out what resilience sent to everybody? Is that what you meant?
I mean, I wasn't here at the 12th meeting on the 12th, but that's kind of the sense that I got from them. I mean,
So we
So-
mail this thing out to everybody in town?
you could, or send a,
Mail
no, not as paper,
Oh, okay.
but just,
Okay. Okay.
send the PDF, have a link on the website, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I've written there is a suggestion of a cover letter that we could send out to the listserv, give it to all the people, all the groups in town that we identified that we would want to try to
Right.
get them to come. I think, and so this is a starting point to say, this is gonna happen, this is what's up, and I'll be quiet while you read it.
Who's arranging the babysitting?
I think wasn't that gonna be,
I mean-
CCL?
There's, we had talked about that, there's, the end of it says, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I spent, you
Let's nail
know,
that one down.
15 minutes writing this, and so, you
Yeah,
know,
they had agreed when we had 3 forums, but
Mhm.
those dates are gone, so I don't
Sure.
know
right.
what the
And,
status of
I
that
mean,
is.
so I throw this out as a starting point for an announcement to talk about it, about what we're up to. And I would absolutely entertain modifications and all.
Comments?
I have to say something, I mean,
It seems, it's okay with me.
Yeah. Go over once again how we're gonna use this, how would we distribute this?
so I envision, this can go on the listserv.
Okay.
This can, you know, I can send it out to those guys, and everybody can send it to their favorite list. I think it would
Is
be
there
worth.
an announcement post, you're saying? So like on
This is
the
the
webpage,
announcement post,
we
right.
could do a news and an announcement on the front cover of the webpage
Mhm.
and then attach the presentation link to it.
Right, exactly, so we can have a link in it to,
I'm sure we can do that. Can we do that? I'd ask David if we
We'll
can
have
do
to
that.
check
We should
with
be
David
able to do
about
that,
the
but I'm
link.
not sure, I don't think we've ever done that. Seen a
Well,
link?
we've got things on there like the whole, large documents.
Yeah.
Town
Downloadable,
plan. all
downloadable
that.
documents.
I mean,
So-
We've got
the ordinance is there, I mean,
town
Yeah, it
ordinance,
should,
yeah.
but what I'm wondering is if he can post it, embed it in the post on the front, make it easy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't make it easy, people don't
Right.
find
Yep.
it.
That's right.
yep, I mean, clearly,
There has to be a link
There has to
when
be
you
a
send
link
it to
to it,
listserv,
That's
so
right.
they can
That's-
click it and download it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yep.
And on listserv, same thing.
No, I thought there was a rule in listserv, we couldn't do that.
No, you can do links to things,
can't
but
do
you
PDFs.
can't attach big, large files.
Right.
Yeah, so you could do a link to wherever it was sitting on the server. I do have one comment.
Sure.
Second sentence, their charge was to consider various kinds of development in Lyme that might have a positive effect on the property tax rate. Not so sure that's accurate. I think their charge was more about to considering the impact of various types of development in Lyme, rather than just positive ones.
Well,
So,
actually, I think that's accurate, because what I recall was you were looking for positive revenue outcomes.
well, we were looking for that, but that wasn't the charge. We didn't tell them to go out and find this positive revenue outcomes. We said,
Uh-huh.
take a look at development and see, you know, if there are some out there for us.
what would you say?
I would just, their charge was to consider the impact of various kinds of development in Lyme
That's okay.
and
Okay
the
with
property
me.
tax rate.
Okay. I mean,
So the only other part is that the big part of the charge was to develop the demographics, to really compile the demographics in addition to. I mean, isn't that what half of the
Well, then
presentation is?
There's gonna be, we've got 2 ways to get the word
Yeah,
out.
I mean,
So
let's
let's
just
not
keep this
nitpick
as
it.
simple as
Just
possible.
Get this out.
This
Okay.
isn't a
uh,
presentation.
I agree with Rusty. Develop baseline data and determine tax
Okay.
impact.
okay, so let me get the words right here, so their charge was,
All right,
I like what you just said, develop.
the charge was to, consider.
Gather, because we gather data
Yes.
first.
Was to gather data
hmm,
and consider the impact of various kinds of development in Lyme.
Period.
okay, good.
So that'll replace what you had here, right?
Right,
Yep.
that's second sentence,
Second
yep.
sentence.
And in terms of the babysitting, if you're gonna put babysitting in there, just make sure you have,
Well,
we
I
actually
mean,
have it.
I just put it there to remind me and to remind us that we wanna talk about what other things do we wanna do. I mean, so we're pretty close. The ending is pretty weak. Please plan to attend this forum. Do-
I think that's great.
Or else.
Yeah, or else.
And actually, I threw in that bit about having a couple of extra forums in
No,
February.
I think that's good, so this is,
I mean,
they know that there will be other opportunities.
Lynn gave me the evil eye. What? You're gonna have one meeting on Thursday? Yeah.
So is that people might think though, that resilience will be there for the other ones, so I don't.
You know
think
what?
that
We'll just, they
Well, there
have
will be.
conflicts.
matters. Right?
There will be, on film.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so the first one.
Oh, okay.
So in order to be expeditious, I think we should just strike the babysitting thing right now.
Yeah,
Oh, sure, I'm
That's what I
sorry.
would
Yeah,
say.
right.
Okay?
Just keep that out of there.
Contact for more information, duh. Who?
Selectmen,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
they chartered it,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay? That way we're not skewing the deck in any particular
Mhm.
direction.
We'll have to
And you
have a
guys get
talk
paid
with
so much, you
Patty.
can answer all those
Yeah,
questions.
Yeah, we'll have to have a talk with Patty and Dina, they're the ones that are gonna get the calls.
Right. Yep.
Mention that tomorrow.
So I think that's good, let's agree, let's make sure we get what they're actually going to present. So maybe I'll follow up tomorrow via email, said, have you made any changes to the slides that you're going to present, so that we actually post the one they present. So I'll make that as a action item to follow up tomorrow morning, and then I will get that to you guys in town hall, so that you guys, we can figure out how to post it,
Mhm.
okay? This is the flyer that they gave us in PDF. I can try to get it in a format where we can change it. I can certainly use the language we just developed, get rid of the dates at the bottom.
Is this in like PowerPoint? Do they have
It's
this?
PDF, but I don't know what they created it
Yeah,
in.
right.
They only send us, they kept sending us stuff in PDF, so we couldn't edit it.
When you ask them, can you also get a commitment? Separate subject, can you also get a commitment to give us the underlying data as spreadsheets and all?
I don't wanna go there right now. I wanna get this. I
One
wanna get the-
insurmountable hurdle at a time.
Let's just
Okay.
get those two documents, because then we
Mhm.
can keep going forward.
Yep.
All right, so the date, obviously this would be changed.
Obviously, yep. So, do you want me to take some of this language and put it on here? Or do you want to leave,
I would leave this language.
okay,
You know, they're a little,
I'll take the edits, the obvious ones.
Mhm.
Forum will take
Obvious
place right at the
edits.
forums. Yep.
all we just wanna get people there.
Yep,
Okay.
okay. So I will have this done by tomorrow, as long as I get it, not in PDF, and I'll send it again to everyone here and the selectmen. I'll only ask that the selectmen approve it and then give it to the town. I can take responsibility for reproducing it and posting it in as many public places as possible,
Great.
like the library, like the school, like
All the.
every obvious ones, okay? And
So, and the other thing, it says complete our survey at, and we don't have a survey.
so that's the next item on the, probably a day, give me one more day and I'll send everybody the questionnaire,
Now, what are you working from?
the original one that we've all edited a few times. People had a lot of issues, go ahead.
Okay, I hate to bring this up at this late date, but thinking about that questionnaire, I think it makes more sense to do a simple pre and post questionnaire. In other words, what we want to really look at is, do people understand what the issues are? And did the information we give them help clarify the issues? And I was thinking maybe 4 or 5 question, giving people pencils, a piece of paper with 4 or 5 questions, and just asking them some simple questions about the tax rate and the tax burden in Lyme and development. You know, what their beliefs are about it. For example, is the tax burden in line with the rest of New Hampshire? Strongly agree, whatever. Do you think that Lyme is in need of further development? Strongly agree, whatever. Just 4 or 5 simple questions like that. Give it to them before they sit down. They sit through an hour, whatever it takes to do it, and you give them a test after that with essentially the same questions, maybe worded a little bit differently, and see if there's been any change. If the information we're giving them, in other words, is informed their opinion. Just thought about it. I know it's kind of a last day type thing, but it's kind of what we do in education a lot. So,
I think it's this is gonna be difficult to agree on just the survey questions and adding extra steps. I don't know exactly what we're gonna get out of that. I mean, if the people change their opinions afterwards.
I'm not looking for people to change their opinions. We're looking for people to be more informed.
But if people are more informed, that, you know, they'll either will be or they won't, but the fact that we know they're more informed or they aren't doesn't give us any valuable information.
I totally disagree with that. I think that.
Well, that's why we're both here, so we can disagree.
I think that.
Shocker that you guys would disagree.
I've been shocked that we've agreed sometimes.
I think if we go through this entire process, at the end of the day, we don't inform some people, if people don't have a better understanding of what this town of Lyme is going through at this particular moment.
Well,
we have failed,
let's
so.
suppose that we do fail and people say we didn't do a good job. We still have to, it doesn't really change the outcomes at all.
So
It will change how you might want to go forward. If we know that this has failed, then we might want to rethink how we go forward. If we think that these people, if we, see, my whole thing about this was, at the end of the day, I want people to be more informed. You know, what the town of Lyme decides to do about all this information, it's well beyond my control. So I just want to make sure that we've gone through this process and the people that have bothered to attend, to pay attention to this, come out and are more informed so that when they go to meetings, annual meetings, whatever, to vote, that they have more information. Because one of my big things is like, I get the feeling that people don't really understand the whole tax situation. And every time I go to a meeting, that's the feeling I get. So I just think that if we could demonstrate that we've done some good with this by informing people that's about as best as we can get from what we're doing here.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
So
That's kind of-
I'd like to throw out a slightly different take on this. I've been casting about like, how do you make a good questionnaire? What are good questions and all? And I wonder, it occurred to me that the value of a valuable questionnaire would be post-forum series. We say to people, I mean, we look at what people say, we look at what people's expectations coming in, questions they ask, we say, oh, that's what they're thinking. Let's then design a questionnaire to see what the town
I agree.
might be willing to do. Part of it is sloth, that we'd have to really bust our hump to get a questionnaire together in time for 2 weeks. And the other is, as I say, I'm not really sure what questions I would want to ask right now, because there's so many questions.
It's very, doing the questionnaire is one of the most difficult things associated with whatever you want to call this visioning process, whatever it is at this point. It's difficult, and everybody has to, be on board and live with it. And I agree exactly with what you're saying.
Why not simplify it and just ask basic questions? There's really 3 or 4 questions that need to be asked, in my opinion. Okay. Or we need to understand if people understand. Do they understand the tax situation that Lyme currently is in? Okay. Do they understand how to change that, how it might be changed or might not be changed? Do they really feel that development is something they wanna even open that can of worms. Is that something you consider? Those are kind of the basic questions, you know, and then I guess maybe a fourth one is, if they understand those first three and are in agreement that they might think more development, what kind of changes? But those type of detailed changes, I think, is beyond the scope of anything that we could do with the people that come to our.
I agree in keeping the questions simple and to the point.
What's the value of the pre-test, of the pre-forum?
Because, well, it's the education person.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay.
It's basically, you know, too often, we do these things and we assume that people know things, when they really don't, okay? And so then we pay very close attention to what they say at the end of the day, and we end up saying, well, that person didn't seem to understand the real issues. So the pre-test is two. One, it allows us to see if they do, but two, it's also kind of leading them into the garden that we want them to see. So, because if they're going into this meeting not understanding the tax situation, by asking them very specific questions about whether they think Lyme is, you know, kind of doing the same thing that or in the same situation that other towns in Lyme, in New Hampshire are, or if Lyme has some specific problems, that opens up their mind to, well, I don't know, or they do know, or I'm not sure, you know, and that opens up their mind to, when they look at this thing, to looking at it in a completely different way. And that's just kind of the education person in me, so.
Yeah, I mean, it might be interesting to know that, Dave, but I don't know, that's sort of a separate issue in a way. I mean, I don't know how that would help us.
Well, one point is, most people aren't gonna put their names on it.
I don't want their names.
And you're gonna do the analysis?
Yeah.
Well,
We need some direction from you guys. I mean, we got a little over 2 weeks. You know, we can take the sloth method and develop it afterward,
I don't think that's a bad idea either.
which would just let us hear what kinds of questions people ask after, you know, as we're going through this. And we can all take notes and we can draw that together, then put together the questionnaire, make it available, SurveyMonkey, we can pump that, you know, ahead. Because I think it is going to be controversial about how we design it and how we ask it.
Absolutely be I've been through this in this town on the tail, I came in on the tail end of the last time, and it's very controversial. And I started on this questionnaire, working with Steve, and that was difficult. It was it's really difficult, and for us to, you know, 2 weeks to go, to pull that off would be very difficult.
Okay, so let's focus on what we absolutely have to get done, which is make sure we have the correct version that they're gonna present. Let's make sure I get the flyer out to everyone tomorrow, in a form that is acceptable, that we get it posted on the website, that we send it to listserv, that I print a couple hundred copies and distribute them, and then everyone can chirp in on what else we need to do to make sure that Thursday, the 24th, is a success.
And that's
The rest-
that's at 7, right?
7 to 9 is what I have. The rest we can recover or gather as we go forward. I'm sure this is going to be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
We'll ask people also at the first presentation what good dates, what good times are. Again, babysitting, but let's not complicate the first one. Let's get it done.
Keep it simple.
So no question there.
I don't think
Keep
we-
writing your questions
Yeah,
down.
keep writing your question. I don't think we can agree on one with 2 weeks to go. This is not historically what happens.
Make sure the school gets a file.
I'll reach out to you guys to other places that I should or shouldn't, or we should or shouldn't. I'll make a time of it. Okay?
All right.
I had one question on the flyer, the sentence at the bottom, are there ways Lyme schools can continue to maintain superior quality without development?
Oh, this is the old one. They changed that.
Oh, so that's not gonna be,
Well, this shouldn't be on. This is,
okay,
what
because I was
they-
gonna say
what-
it should be with development.
yeah, what they changed it to is, are there ways Lyme schools continue, you can just can continue to maintain superior quality, but Yeah, the reason they took it out was because it was a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, implied something.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that should come out.
I'll make sure that I'm working off the last copy they sent us.
Yeah.
And I'll ping them early in the morning, early tonight.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Sue, anything we need to do at the school for that evening?
Well, if we should be there minimum half hour early, make sure we have it set up. We'll need we need to get the big screen from the school, church has the biggest projector screen.
Okay.
So if somebody could get that, and get it over there. They will most likely have their own. I can bring the projector. They have their own computer and format.
And chairs, what about chairs?
Chairs and stuff. Sometimes the school sets those up. Otherwise, if we make sure we're there early enough, if they haven't, we can do it. So, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But this one, they may not.
Anything else
Can't
people
think
would
of
like to
anything
cover?
else. No. Everything,
Do we wanna have, I mean, this video camera is adequate for this sort of venue.
Could get Robin Taylor to do it.
I was thinking of Robert Taylor.
I thought you were gonna ask him already.
Hmm.
Shame on me.
Shame on you.
There's your action item.
Yep.
There's your action. I'm sure you will.
So are we thinking about the church newsletter at all?
It's too late, I
Is
think.
it too late? That's not gonna come out before, because I was just thinking people that don't do listserv,
Yeah, I know.
that would catch people that don't do listserv.
So we can do it.
No, we're gonna have flyers,
So
so I think we're gonna distribute that flyer to as many committees that we have,
Yes.
so that anybody who volunteers on committees, and then the word gets out.
Yeah, well, if the newsletter, church newsletter doesn't come out before then
December,
anyway, it doesn't
January,
matter.
so it'll be
Yeah,
February.
right, so it doesn't matter.
So we can make sure that the future dates get in.
How do we want to make sure that all the committees in town, all the groups in town get notified of this?
Well,
We made
that'll be
it,
on news and announcements.
But Patty C can handle that at the office, he can make sure that any chairman of all the committees will.
right, that's town committees, and then there's those guys in the Lyme Foundation and the utility club and the,
Oh,
you know, and the garden club, and, I mean, it would be good if, yeah, I mean, and not Sue.
yeah,
It would be good, not even Rusty.
yeah.
It would be good if, you know, we could divvy up the list of these committees and say, hey, let's make sure, even a personal note to these people to say, listen, I spent a lot of time on this, it would be really great if everybody from the blah, blah, blah could come.
Yeah, Conservation Commission.
I mean, all of them.
So They're all,
They're on
they're all on the listserv, and we'll get this
Yep,
information.
yep.
And they'll put flyers in the schools, so we'll get parents, and we get it on the school news
Mhm.
cycle, whatever that is. They send one out weekly, right?
But having it go directly to the head of those individual committees,
To push it.
just, I mean, you can't hear this stuff too often.
Oh, yes, you can.
Actually, we will probably be unable to make ourselves oppressive. I mean, if we had an entire marketing organization, we could really make people sick of us, but, I mean.
Yeah, and we'll get a lot of people at the country store too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, right,
Well, yeah, the word will get out.
right. Mm-hmm.
Not as much as, might have, but.
Because at this point, I don't think hardly anybody knows.
Hardly anybody
Rusty and I were
knows.
at a meeting last night,
Yeah,
and there were-
nobody knows.
and nobody at the
I
meeting
don't
had
think
ever
we're-
heard of the LCDC,
Mhm.
or let alone
Yep.
a forum, so.
People I've spoken to know nothing.
Or knew that something happened.
Yeah,
Last
but
year sometime.
nothing.
Yeah, right.
of-
This is our chance to reintroduce ourselves.
Okay. I don't think any of us should hesitate to forward a copy of it to any chair and anybody in So whether it's the churches or those guys or anything that we're affiliated or we know, we should just forward.
Basically, just let people know any way you can.
Yeah. Ask that you encourage people to attend,
Right, encourage everybody to.
okay? Any other business?
Say no.
No influencing. You might be shutting.
Was that influencing?
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work you're doing.
I'm not doing it, you did
I
all the
thought you were
work.
doing all the printing
Yeah, you're
and
doing it.
Well,
posting.
I'm good at manual things.
Yeah, that's what they all
I
say.
have the free time to
So
do
we're
it.
looking for the updated slides, we'll be just watching
Yes.
for that to make sure, or you'll confirm that these slides are.
I'm gonna have them resend them whatever they're going to present.
Yeah, good.
And
And you'll
about
send that
2
out.
hours later, you'll get the flyer,
Yeah.
okay? And once we have those two things, we'll get our town,
Yeah, there you go.
okay?
Sounds great.
Are
Thank you,
going to
everybody.
send the questionnaire that you've been working on?
I'm gonna work on it, and I'm gonna send it to everybody here, because I think we should keep working on it.
Okay.
Because who knows, if a miracle occurs and we all agree that we wanna use it, at least we'll have something that's in process and
I'll send you my simplified